Reddit has over 1 billion registered accounts and hosts millions of active communities covering every topic imaginable, from personal finance and technology to niche hobbies, local neighborhoods, and obscure historical events. Every day, hundreds of millions of posts, comments, votes, and discussions are generated entirely by its users, without Reddit commissioning a single piece of content, employing a single writer, or paying a single community moderator. The platform is free to join, free to post on, and free to read. Most of its users have never paid for anything on it, and yet Reddit went public in 2024 with a valuation in the billions, and it generates significant and growing annual revenue from a platform whose entire content library was built by volunteers. This is the story of how Reddit makes money from one of the largest collections of free, user-generated content on the internet, and why the most surprising part of that story has nothing to do with advertising. To understand how Reddit generates revenue, you need to understand what makes Reddit different from other social platforms. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are built around personal identity. Users create profiles, build followings, and publish content tied to their own name or persona. Reddit is built almost entirely around anonymity and community. Most Reddit users do not use their real names. They do not have follower accounts in the traditional sense. They participate in communities called subreddits, organized around shared interests rather than around individual personalities. The content on Reddit is produced not by influencers building personal brands, but by ordinary people sharing information, opinions, experiences, and humor within communities they care about. This structure produces a content library of extraordinary depth and specificity. There are subreddits for every medical condition, every programming language, every city, every television show, every political perspective, every hobby, and thousands of topics so niche they would never sustain a standalone website. The aggregate of all this community-generated content represents one of the most comprehensive repositories of human knowledge, opinion, and conversation ever assembled, and it was produced entirely for free by the people who participated in those communities for their own reasons, with no expectation of payment. The scale of this archive is genuinely difficult to comprehend. Reddit has existed since 2005, which means it has been accumulating human conversation, debate, advice, and discussion for 2 decades. Every product recommendation thread, every relationship advice post, every detailed technical explanation written by an expert helping a stranger for free, every argument about a movie or a video game or a political event, all of it sits in Reddit's archive, indexed, searchable, and attached to a community context that gives it meaning. No company could replicate this archive by paying writers to produce it. It exists because millions of people wanted to participate in conversations they cared about, with no expectation that their words would ever be sold. That content library is the core asset Reddit monetizes, and it does so through several distinct revenue streams that have evolved as the platform has grown. The primary revenue source is advertising. Reddit sells ad placements to brands and businesses that want to reach its user base through formats designed to integrate with the platform's native content experience. Promoted posts appear in users' feeds alongside organic content, formatted identically to regular Reddit posts, except for a small sponsored label. These ads can include images, videos, and links, and they participate in Reddit's voting and comment system. Users can upvote, downvote, and comment on promoted posts just as they can on organic ones. This creates an unusual dynamic where advertising content is subject to the same community feedback mechanisms as everything else on the platform. A promoted post that resonates with users can accumulate genuine upvotes and comments, extending its organic reach beyond its paid placement. A promoted post that feels irrelevant or manipulative will be downvoted and criticized, which is visible to every subsequent viewer. Reddit's advertising targeting draws on the community structure of the platform rather than on personal identity data. Because Reddit users are largely anonymous, Reddit cannot offer the same depth of personal demographic targeting that Facebook or Instagram provide. Instead, it targets based on community membership and engagement, showing ads to users who participate in specific subreddits, who have shown interest in specific topics, or who match broad demographic and behavioral categories inferred from their activity. This makes Reddit's advertising particularly effective for reaching highly engaged niche audiences that are difficult to find on broader platforms. An advertiser selling specialized woodworking tools can reach an audience of genuine woodworking enthusiasts through a relevant subreddit in a way that broad demographic targeting on other platforms simply cannot replicate. Reddit Premium generates subscription revenue from users willing to pay for an enhanced experience, removing ads, accessing an exclusive membership community, and receiving a monthly allocation of virtual currency to award to content they value. The virtual goods system itself generates additional revenue from users who purchase coins to give awards to posts and comments they appreciate. When a user receives an award, their content is highlighted and visually marked in a way that signals community recognition, a currency that matters significantly within Reddit's culture, even though it carries no real-world value on its own. Reddit retains the revenue from those purchases, monetizing the social recognition culture that is deeply embedded in how Reddit communities function. The most strategically significant revenue stream Reddit has developed is data licensing. Reddit's content library, billions of posts and comments spanning 2 decades of human discussion across every conceivable topic, has become extraordinarily valuable to artificial intelligence companies training large language models. These models require vast quantities of human-generated text to learn from, and Reddit's content represents one of the richest and most diverse sources of natural human language available anywhere on the internet. Unlike formal writing such as news articles or books, Reddit's content captures the way real people actually communicate: casual phrasing, debate and disagreement, niche expertise, humor, and the back-and-forth structure of genuine conversation. This makes it particularly valuable for training AI systems that need to understand and generate natural human language. In 2024, Reddit signed data licensing agreements with major AI companies, including Google, granting them access to Reddit's content for AI training purposes in exchange for significant licensing fees. These agreements represent a revenue stream that did not exist in any meaningful form just a few years earlier, and that is now structurally important enough to be highlighted prominently in Reddit's public financial disclosures. This is where the business model becomes genuinely surprising. Reddit's content is valuable twice, once as an advertising environment and once as a dataset. And unlike advertising revenue, which requires continuous audience engagement to sustain, data licensing revenue can be generated from content that already exists in Reddit's archive. Every post written years ago, every comment left on a thread in 2015, every discussion that happened on a niche subreddit a decade before AI training markets existed, all of it has retroactively become a commercially valuable asset that Reddit can license to companies building the next generation of AI systems. The person who answered a stranger's question about car repair in 2012 had no way of knowing their words would eventually be licensed for millions of dollars to train an artificial intelligence model more than a decade later. The reason this model works is the self-sustaining nature of Reddit's community ecosystem. Reddit does not need to invest in content production because its communities produce content organically, motivated by the social rewards of participation, upvotes, comments, community recognition, and the simple satisfaction of contributing to a topic they care about. The moderation of those communities is performed largely by volunteer moderators who maintain community standards, remove spam, and resolve disputes without compensation. Reddit provides the infrastructure and the platform. Its users provide everything else, including, it turns out, a data set worth hundreds of millions of dollars to the AI industry. What makes this model scalable is that the content library grows continuously without Reddit bearing the cost of its growth. Every new post, every new comment, every new community created adds to the platform's content depth, its advertising inventory, and its data asset, all at zero direct cost to Reddit. The advertising revenue that content generates scales with the volume and engagement of the content being produced. The data licensing value of the content archive grows as AI training markets expand, and as the demand for high-quality, naturally written human text continues to increase across the AI industry. What Reddit reveals about the digital economy is something that will only become more significant as artificial intelligence develops. The content people produced freely on the internet, in forums, in comment sections, in community discussions never intended for any commercial purpose, has retroactively become one of the most commercially valuable assets in the technology industry. The people who wrote those posts never agreed to that specific transaction and will never see any share of the revenue it generates. The posts were free, the dataset they created is worth billions,